What was the first MMO that you ever played? Was it classic WoW, perhaps EverQuest, RuneScape even? Maybe something more modern such as Final Fantasy XIV or Black Desert Online. MMOs, when I started, were grindy, slow, massive time sinks that allowed for your imagination to run wild and making you work for every single piece of gear and level you got, while requiring an absolute brutal amount of time and dedication to do so. Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, is a brand new MMO that looks to recreate that same experience here in 2025. Pantheon just released in December and has slowly been rising on daily player count and gaining popularity while providing such a callback experience that I've been excited to log in each day. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about how Pantheon Rise of the Fallen has an unforgiving experience in 2025. Okay, so starting off, this game is developed and published by Visionary Realms, who has only really been working on Pantheon as of right now, and they were relatively unknown to me until I eventually caught wind that Pantheon was an MMO and I decided to check it out. I followed some of the streams that they have been doing, and it seemed interesting enough that I used some of my Christmas fund money to buy the game. Yes, I'm an adult man who still gets Christmas fund money because my grandmother thinks I'm still the bestest of boys. After a quick download, we are in the game. As always, the most important screen in any MMORPG is going to be the character select screen. You choose the race, the class, the gender, and you even get a choice of the different attribute allocations, which was a nice touch. For races, we look like we have humans, elves, ogres, halflings, dwarves, and dark mirror, which already offers quite a bit of different selections, and that was actually a really nice touch. But to even extend that further, if you take a look at their website, they have other races that will eventually be added in over time, those being gnomes, Scar, and Archai. Honestly, I lost a bit of time just checking out the different races before my plain white bread self with human. I know, I'm unoriginal. And the main reason is because I have to have a bald head and a stash. That is a guarantee for every MMO that I try, so like and subscribe for more middle-aged shenanigans. The classes are pretty diverse, which I think is one of the main reasons that I was interested in checking out the game anyway. I love that all the classes fit into kind of like their own unique realms and varying level of difference about them, so ride along with me on this one. There is the Cleric, the Dire Lord, the Druid, the Enchanter, the Monk, the Necromancer, the Paladin, the Ranger, the Rogue, the Shaman, the Summoner, the Warrior, and the Wizard. I believe there's also been talks of more classes down the line, which is absolutely insane. From what I've gathered, even before I picked up the game, was that there is such a focus on social and grouped play to overcome many different obstacles in the game. Put a pin in that because I'm going to really find out that bit later. After taking a look at some of the classes on the surface, I said, you know what, let's become the most outlandish wild fantasy class race combo in any MMO ever. A human paladin. After a quick customization, I log in for the first time. So immediately, the landing gives me the tutorials, which is honestly a really nice touch, especially if someone who hasn't played MMOs gives this game a shot. They'll be able to have a bit better of a ground to stand on. If you already have a good idea of MMOs or you want the self-discovery, you do have the option of turning those off. But even if you're self-sufficient, I recommend keeping those tutorials on for this game at all times. The UI is fairly straightforward. We have action bars, you have your character bar, chat, combat log, targeting, all that fun jazz. Okay, pretty sweet. The first problem that I ran into was that there are no floating quests markers, meaning that you have to talk to everyone to see if they have a quest for you. It's not a terrible thing, but it's something that isn't a part of traditional MMO, so you've been warned. You have to do some self-exploration and talk to people. They also have swimming in this game, which even throughout all of my time that I spent here, I still haven't swam much because it is nothing but like thalassophobia. Anyway, I get the first quest and I try to spamming all my buttons to find the map. I would find out later that there is no map. You gotta remember where all your shit is. The devs have talked about this, and I will cover this towards the end, but yeah, right now, no maps. You just gotta figure it out on your own. Also, you can pretend you're like Spider-Man. Look at my boy climbing straight up this wall, this smooth wall. Anyway, I grab a quest to take a look around and find cultist camps in To Thronefast, where I'm at. So I check my skill bars out. Apparently, the skills will auto-populate your bar as you learn them from the codexes purchased from the trainers, which is honestly really great. But now is the time to go ahead and take a look around. The first town that we get to is pretty in design and pretty in depth. Honestly, it has like this medieval vibe to it, but it's pretty scenic nonetheless. I also immediately find out the fun of balancing my stamina bar. I'm always running low on stamina, and I need more stats. I like to run full speed at all times. Well, I run into town to see quite a few people here, like summoners, rangers, and I mean, it's actually really nice to see such a diverse amount of people on this one server that I've chosen. I leave town, and I immediately start picking a fight with every creature or critter that I can find. Small brown rats, spiders, anything that's moving is dead, basically. I actually find that I have ability scrolls in my bag that gave me these skills of lay on hands and shock undeath, which, again, I should probably just pay attention more because I'm sure that that was in that tutorial. Remember to read your tutorials. It takes like 5 seconds, just do it. Also, again, when you click them, they auto-populate to your bar, which is a great touch, honestly, but I do think that you can move them around. You can just shift select them and push them different places. I also check out this letter that says, hey, come chat with me about trade profession. And seriously, I will be spending quite a bit of time with this trainer. Like after 2 mobs, I have to use lay on hands because it's getting too close for comfort. For level 1s, these guys are kind of hitting pretty damn hard. So I Scooby-Doo run into town. After doing some more exploring, I find out that the button C on your keyboard will size up enemies that you are targeting, meaning that you can literally get ready to throw hands with anyone. And I accidentally use it on one of the merchants, and it says that that would be death if you do so. Oh, okay. Interesting. And guess what? Everything that I go ahead and click is going to kill me. So I venture out again at night, and I get into some combat, and suddenly I pull like every cultist in the camp, and they're beating the hell out of me. Like at this point, my stamina bar is exhausted, and what stinks about this is that they have like no de-aggro range.
Excuse me, do you have time to talk about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Hey, don't run from the Lord!
They literally chase me all the way back to the damn city. Guys, I'm already fighting for my life on a standard 1-to-1 fight. Come on now. Well, it respawns me back at the main town hub where I came in, and so I get to run all the way back. But hot damn, that's a sharp lesson. And apparently, as you watched there, that's one that I didn't pay attention to enough, because I get knocked down again, mainly because I pulled the mob too quickly and didn't have my health ready to go. Luckily, it doesn't fully kills you and allows you to be revived. Still, I'm not learning this damn lesson, and I don't throughout my entire time playing this game. I rush back into town to survive the army chasing me and turn in my first quest, which honestly gave me an abysmal amount of experience. So I do what is ingrained into every good MMORPG Slayer's mind. It is time to grind. After getting a kill, I finally hit level 2, and then I go back and to check some of the features that I skipped, like the skill point allocation. I think I accidentally clicked it so that it auto allocates, which is something that you could do on your character creation screen. But I then just proceed to grind, just killing stuff. Skeletons, frog, rats, the sweet immersion of MMOs. I also find this nice mace in a chest, which deals a little bit more damage than my sword, so that's a win. Then it's back to the grind. Mobs die fairly easy. I mean, they're not too threatening, but the whole combat, again, is slow. And I think that's by design. It's meant to be a slow ease-in process that really adds extra layers for killing mobs, gathering loot, that classic MMO experience, which this game is absolutely nailing. I then focus on the different schematics that I can buy when I'm back in town to start crafting items. I don't really know what's going to be better or if it will even be worth my time, but I go in and craft them anyway, assuming that it will. I have enough materials to make myself a great sword, which deals like twice the damage I did, but it also swings significantly slower. This becomes a blessing later on, and a two-handed weapon with these abilities that, yeah, it makes sense. Well, after some killing and some wandering, I try to take on this brittled bonecaster who obliterates me. Like, no sweat. Instant death, goodbye, you're gone kind of kill. I didn't press the C button to size up the enemy before I went into that. And again, that's something that you learn very quickly. Make sure you size up all the enemies in the area because they are spread all over the place. You'll be going from a bunch of mobs that are super easy, and then sprinkled in there is a mob that can absolutely one-shot you, so pay attention. Well, grinding back and forth goes on for a little bit longer, but what's really worth the time is finding these quests and understanding the area where we are. Everything has to be done by memory and self-exploration, which is wild, but it is done in such a great way. I really actually enjoyed this. I had to remember where I saw all these bits. and when I'm accepting a quest, there's no indication of where I need to go. So I pick up this delivery quest for this courier, and I spend quite a bit of time trying to figure out where the hell I had to take it. Literally, I ran around the town for about 15 minutes to find this guy before deciding just to run off and start grinding some more. I find what fills most of my time here is actually running. There is no apparent fast travel, or at least none that I have seen thus far, nor the ability to move faster than your sprint. It basically, you have to go from a long jaunt. That's where that's this game. I will admit, it does give you a great picture of how scenic everything is in this world, which is really something else. I really like the art style of it. I find that it's a great way for this game to encourage the slower paced exploration. So get ready to enjoy the environment. Well, after a small farm, I am getting encumbered because I have taken the courier task carrying something heavy to find someone, and I have no idea where the person is. This is only causing me further stress because I wander around for about like 5 minutes throughout this town and eventually find him on the eastern edge of the town sitting over this lake. All that running for some measly EXP and some small coin. Well, while I'm running, it gives me the opportunity to have a better understanding of what the town is and where the people are. When I eventually get to another character, I will understand the quests a bit more and know where to go. So the initial time is going to be slow, but after that, it'll pick up pace. I use what scant materials I have to start working on my blacksmithing. I may not be super duper strong, but I at least will be able to take the fight a little bit longer. Well, it seems like the quests build off of each other, and now I can pick up the courier part 2, which has me run all the way to this major castle gate to drop this off. I did come back here at a later time and try to enter, but it appears that the area is either unfinished or unprepared, or I can't enter it. There's an invisible wall. And again, this game's in early access, so yeah, that makes sense. Well, the courier is actually very straightforward, and honestly, I was so happy because that was just a straight beeline, and I knew exactly where to go. I was more interested in doing it because it offered me quite a bit of money and such. See, each of your skills cost money. You don't just automatically learn it as you level. You have to go and pay for the scrolls to learn the skill, and they have ever increasing amounts of silver, and I think it eventually goes into gold. Also, with the schematics that you learn for all of your crafting, as I did blacksmithing, it is a huge incentive for you to pour any money that you get into your character in these ways. So new skills, getting your crafting up so that you can get better gear. It works out so much more in that regard. I highly recommend that being the direction that you go. On my way back to town, I find a group of players fighting one of these brittle bone casters, like 6 people throwing hands with a skelly boy. So I do the right thing and try to kick the skeleton while they're down. I believe I don't get any EXP or any loot for that matter, but I still need to get back at these jerks. That was personal. Again, the long distance pulling is really a nuisance, and I don't like that these guys don't reset for anything. Like, I know that they want to add extra weight to the pulls that you make. However, that's a pain, especially when a fight goes south. Well, I farm my way around the side again, and then I run into this Nightbane toad, and this becomes a common theme that I've seen for most of these areas. As I mentioned before, you'll be able to fight enemies that are easy, and then suddenly one of them will be slightly different and hardly noticing, and then they absolutely truck you. They hit so damn hard. Well, after about 15 more minutes of grinding, I got all the way to level 5, and the first thing I do is go and purchase the passive skills as well as any of the available skills that I can afford, which aren't really a whole lot, but I get Righteous Flame, which each one of my attacks deals extra divine damage, and Oath Flame that heals. Paired with Faithful Strike, this is some pretty good healing. So I immediately have to go out and test this. I mean, like, that's just how I work. I have to go and try it out. Well, remember those angry skelly casters? Well, I accidentally aggroed a whole bunch of them because I was trying to kill this snake here. Now, since I'm level 5, I drop all the items that are in my inventory. I keep the items that I am wearing, so the sword and the armor and all that, but every other item that I had that was in my inventory is dropped, and you have to go and loot your corpse. This makes every death that much more of a pain, because now any items that you had are gone until you collect them. Now, it does seem, however, you can go back at different times. I've been able to log in after I had died and was unable to get my corpse, and go back and check the area and get it, and get the items that were there. I've also saw in chat that some people were saying that you can have someone pull your corpse, which I don't know what that entails, but it does seem like there are ways for you to get around getting your inventory items back after you've died. So that's a nice touch. Well, I take some time to explore the area a bit more, and then I happen upon this cave where it seems like there's rogues and necromancers. That's where they start their game. I actually really love. I love that each class has like its own unique starting area because it feels like more of an adventure instead of everyone just piling up and starting at the same exact spot. Well, somehow I pull some bat and I suddenly have a skeleton, a bear cub, and a bat all attacking me, and I'm instantly dead. Well, this basically means another long track to go get my corpse and all the items that were in there. And what's worse is that with each death, you lose a little bit of experience, making it that much more costly. Apparently, this can even cost you a level, which is interesting. That makes, again, better emphasis on what you're pulling and the control of your character in the game. I'm pissed at myself for not paying attention. Well, guess what? I did it again. Somehow I ended up pulling the damn bears and they chased me all the freaking way out of the cave. Another death and more experience lost, and this is like 4 deaths within 20 minutes. I resolved to focus on farming on the open world or the above world, and I do what I can fighting the mobs that I have, but apparently one of those sneaky higher level strong hitting mobs is just sitting here where there's a whole bunch of lower level mobs, and he roots and then instantly kills me. I don't know. That one kind of made me mad, and I couldn't get my corpse until much later anyway, and that had all my good items. The second I turned level 5, I've died like 5 times. Well, so I focus on staying in the weak baby area so I can actually just focus on leveling while I'm here. I get identified by someone who watches the channel. That was a nice moment. A good call out to them. The entire time I'm fighting for my life here, the out of character chat, which seems to be very similar to like the trade chat or the local chat, has been blowing up with people asking for trades, groups, and more. Like, I mean, this game really does bring the idea to life, the social MMO. And once I understand that I have to live and breathe by the C button explanation of the mobs, things got a lot smoother. I find myself actually doing a lot better in the open world. Also, the foreman here for gathering skills gives me equipment to farm everything that I need and not just the specific ones that I want. It took me like 3 hours to figure out that I can actually go ahead and harvest crop and skin animals, but I should really read the text more. I take the time to also get the paladin quest that popped up, and it seems to offer nothing really more than any experience and gold, but I'm hopeful that as the quests evolve, that eventually that they offer better loot. I think that's kind of how it goes. You get ever-increasing amounts of money, more experience, and then possibly even a better item. So the follow-up on the Paladin quest takes me over to where those super strong Skelly boys were and asks me to fight one skeleton, just one, to confirm the kill. So I group up with 4 other players here to get in there and finish this quest. It appears to be a Dire Lord, a Necromancer, and I think an Enchanter. I'm not sure of what those symbols were. But when we all get grouped together, everything starts dying super duper fast. We're able to blow up groups of mobs very easily, and I'm even off healing with O-Flame to support the tank. It's actually working pretty well, honestly, perfectly, really. Straightforward taking down these mobs because we have the support. The tough evil skeleton mobs that we were fighting, we were having troubles with, are really no issue until we pull something called a living corpse. Whatever this thing is, it is absolutely wrecking our face. We are dropping fast, and even despite my healing rezzing Obadiah, who I believe is the enchanter, I'm still getting worked down very quick. My healing can't do enough, and I miss a couple of my abilities, and yeah. I get this res, and then I end up start tanking the corpse again. Malekith has died and released, and somehow we finish and get the kill on this guy. Holy crap, that was a monster to take down. After logging back in the next day, I was able to get a better idea of how the game is and how I needed to move forward, what skills worked, and how I needed to push myself and work my way, grinding up all the way to level 8 with a full set of gear and ready to go. I think I have enough of a taste of this game to form a first impression. So the first thing that I will say about this game, it is not for the weak-willed. That's the game's charm. The game is not one of these handout awards, gears, trophies, achievements, and oh, there you go, you did a little bit of work, here's your achievements. No, you have to bust your butt and you get nothing in return. You are honestly lucky if you get a pat on the back or even some slight experience after turning in a quest, but that's the beauty of this game. So commonly in modern MMOs, we were put into these massive treadmills, endlessly churning out gameplay loops, experience, or even small minuscule improvements to our character power. Or even worse, nothing at all. Pantheon is not afraid to challenge that notion. They are not afraid to say you must focus on the environment, remember where you are and how to get home, and be willing to grind out the levels to grow out in power. I remember the retail WoW experience, or even the Guild Wars 2 experience. In Final Fantasy 14, you can spend like 5 minutes and get 5 levels. It took me an hour of grinding to get to level 8. This meant venturing further into the wild, trying out mobs, and seeing how far I can push my character. I will say the world design is incredible here too. Sure, the graphics may not be like 4K sharp resolution, but it fits the shape of a classic MMORPG experience. Because basically, you set off onto an adventure and good luck. Even though in a more recent developer Q&A, I think they have mentioned that they were looking to add a minimap in some fashion. And honestly, I would actually like to see it as a crafting profession. Someone who goes out and views the entire area, like a cartographer, and they get a copy of the map of that zone and then they turn and sell it. I feel like that doesn't remove the venture out and explore the area on your own experience, but still gives players access to finding out where the hell they are with more of a streamlined map. I will say that the combat at first felt very, very slow and admittedly boring, but by level 8 and me pouring most of my gold into my skills, I had a full bar of abilities and I could combo them fairly well. Now, I will say that I went like a two-handed retribution paladin type thing. While that has worked for me, I feel like the general theme for the paladin is that he's meant to be a tank, as most of my abilities offer some type of threat generation. Although not exactly stated, or if they did, I did not see. It does appear that they have like a tank healer or DPS trinity, but thus far, I've been able to play as a DPS pally fine, and I can also even support all feels, so there's diversity there. I would like to see some type of waypoint system into the game. Like, I've heard that you can get wizards portals to go to different areas, but like some type of fast travel, like one major city hub to another, would be a great touch. But having nothing in between, so it's still a journey, it's still a trek, you still have to walk towards it, but it can make that jump back and forth a little bit easier. Also, the de-aggro range of the mobs is a huge pain in the ass. If you run because you pulled too much, I shouldn't have to, cover 500 miles backwards to get them to stop. I understand the point of the gameplay making it more meaningful, but hot damn, scale that back. Also, as a quick mention, I'd love to see that the crafting station, like the schematics of what you are looking to build, will show what the weapon will look like when you are officially finished crafting it. It appears that there are like 3 tiers, and that's fairly straightforward. The higher the tier, the better. But sometimes it gets obnoxious not knowing how much of an improvement this particular weapon will be until you actually go through the steps of crafting it. I will say my favorite part of this game thus far has been its meaningful progression. Like, reaching level 8 didn't feel like a quick fix. It didn't feel like I could do it in a breeze, and I had to work and grind my way all the way up to that level. Now, mostly the grind was killing every wild creature that was under the sun, but reaching that point and getting those levels made it feel more like an achievement versus being handed an easy grind. I also really love that the gameplay thus far has been focusing on the leveling experience. I can't tell you how many times in MMOs they make a very big push. Oh, let's get to endgame. Endgame is where all the fun is, and it's like, yeah, but there's still a journey leading up until that. So I like the idea of focusing on the leveling, so you can really have a better emphasis on understanding the world and eventually have the idea of where you can go. Now, granted, I only reached level 8, and I can eventually see that it shifts towards group play, and I think that's how it's implemented down later the line, so maybe that's something I'll explore as I play more. So many MMOs focus on the end product and not the journey that gets you there. Having said all this, the things about the game that I have liked and disliked, it is still very much in early access. This means that everything is liable to change. Certainly doesn't mean that the game is perfect, nor that some of the features I disliked won't get worked out later down the road. All things considered, this MMO does provide that classic grindy kind of time sink gameplay that we all used to love from older MMOs. And I love that this is their direction. Too many times MMOs try to streamline everything, and when they do, they make it feel meaningless. I didn't have to work for this, and it was easy to acquire. When you work for something here in Pantheon, it's a fist fight. You have to get the satisfaction of knowing that you earned your level and earned the gear that you have, which is amazing. The game's got a solid foundation, and it looks like it's only trending upward, averaging about like 5,000 players from here to there on Steam. And the developer has stated that they will be in early access for a few years while they are building the game. It's a smaller team, so they're doing what they can. But as it stands right now, they have a super duper solid foundation. And for them to be able to build a classic MMORPG experience, this is really exciting. You won't have your handheld, but it's worth it in the end. I've recently tried the Warhammer Online MMO. Now, this is an older MMO that shut down and has come back to life, and you can see that video here. Otherwise, stay caffeinated, folks.